So we have stocks bouncing back a bit on Tuesday after an ugly start to the week as traders brace for the Fed's big announcement due out tomorrow afternoon. However, again, the big story in markets and really beyond remains the fallout from Facebook moving into its second day. In the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, we're seeing more calls for Facebook executives to appear before lawmakers both here in the U.S. and abroad, with the FTC reportedly sending a letter to Facebook to inquire about improper access of user data by Cambridge. Also breaking this afternoon, Cambridge Analytica just suspended its CEO, Alexander Nix, after another damaging Channel 4 expose that aired in the UK. Meanwhile, shares of Facebook down another 3% or so today, off 10% from recent highs. Dan, I see you shaking your head.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure is here, building considerably. What's your kind of broad take, your overview on this before we drill into a couple specific issues?
Well, a few things. Market-wise, I think we've seen some days where people want to think that as Facebook goes, so goes other big tech stocks. Well, yesterday in today's show, that isn't true. The NASDAQ up a little bit today, and so Facebook is really the exception. And this story is really, really significant. I think every so often there's a story like this. It's certainly not the first we've heard of. Data from users' behavior on Facebook playing a part in the election. It's not the first we've heard of that, but this can't be brushed off this time. I mean, this is data that was used in a way it wasn't supposed to be. It was data that wasn't supposed to be accessed, and actually Facebook at some point announced, hey, we've limited this, we've sort of turned off this fire hose. Well, it was too late when that happened. That was back in, I think, 2015. Well, obviously, this data was obtained earlier than that. And the average consumer right now still may not know about this story. You and I do. I think the media does. The tech world does. The markets do because Facebook stock is tanking. But I think the average person on the street who's a Facebook user still may not have necessarily heard about this. They're going to, because rather than get quieter, it's getting louder. We saw the news about the FTC sending a letter. I think people want answers, and people are starting to realize, I mean, I see this not as a Cambridge Analytica story. Who cares about Cambridge Analytica? They're just the symptom of the larger sickness. This is a Facebook story. This is a story of how much Facebook gets and knows about you, and then to whom do they give that information?
Yeah, you mentioned the average user. So we've seen some signs, some data recently that shows that Facebook user growth, at least in the US, pretty much flat. Certainly the more troubling trend would be among younger users. Yeah. I think there was an eMarketer study a couple months ago showing that use between 18 and 24-year-olds is actually set to decline in the year ahead. Do you think that we've seen peak Facebook come and go? Now, of course, if people move to Instagram, I guess it doesn't really matter because Facebook owns them.
That's the smartest thing you can do, is also own the platform they're going to head to next.
But do you think that we've seen this top in Facebook in terms of its saturation in the market, and that this could accelerate some sort of decline?
I think it's tempting to say that, but from what we've seen in the last few years, I'm very skeptical. Again, I think this is a mega story. It's important, but might it just blow over? It might. I mean, even though, as you say, the CEO was caught on this documentary. Oh, they hope so. Yeah. They are hunkered down, hoping it'll just blow over. Absolutely. Look, we should say, Facebook's offices in New York are right here in our building. When we go downstairs in the elevator at the end of the day and we leave, it stops on floor 8, and you see there's Facebook. And I took a peek in this morning. What did it look like? You couldn't tell that it's a company in crisis mode.
It looks like a normal office.
Yeah, and it might not be a company in crisis mode. I think they're hoping it'll blow over. And as crazy as it sounds, it might blow over. People are saying, I demand answers. I want Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg testifying in front of Congress. We saw Congressman Mark Warren, Senator Mark Warren tweeting that. Maybe that'll happen, but even Warren. Warner.
Yes, Mark Warner, Elizabeth Warren.
Mark Warner and Elizabeth Warren. They're always together.
Yes.
Look, we saw that demand, and it might happen, but still, it could blow over.
Yeah, and it might. We have another day ending here on Wall Street. Tuesday coming to a close. Of course, I think markets overall in a little bit of a holding pattern, of course, ahead of tomorrow's announcement from the Fed. Everything has to do with Facebook today. That's sort of the most exciting story.